The 1984-85 Nate Ooks had a Cinderella season, winning the national championship with a perfect record. The team was recently inducted into the Nate Wall of Fame. TechLife had a chance to talk to Pearn, the Ooks coach from that remarkable year, for an article in the Rewind section of TechLife magazine. Pearn, who is now an assistant coach with the New York Rangers, was in Edmonton to play the Oilers. He graciously fit us in between the game day skate and family commitments. In this TechLife Web Extra, the complete, uncut interview. I know being a student there at that time, which was a bit after, it was pretty exciting. Like, you guys seemed always won. Was that good? No, it felt like you were that dominant.
Well, I think what's really neat about that period was that the whole league was very competitive. Red Deer had a very good team. Al Furchuk did a tremendous job of building that program. Later on, and not particularly the 85 year, but later on, some really good coaches came into the league because of how competitive the league was. Mike Babcock, who's now head coach in Detroit, Mike Johnson, who's assistant coach in LA, and Mike would have come in, just after that period, just after the 85 team. And so I think you were pushed every day to be good, and I think the commitment on the part of our team was to win a national championship every year if we could. And I think that we'd had some setbacks. 83, 84, we'd been a great team. We went to the national finals in Quebec and lost in the semifinal in a real heartbreaking game where we outshot the other team, about 50-20, and lost 3-2. So, we'd suffered some defeats too that I think really spurred the team on to be as good as it was. And, that particular year, I think there was no doubt right from the start of the season that, winning the national championship was going to be something that was going to happen. And, everybody on the team believed it. And I think, you saw the kind of results on the ice, night after night. And I think our job as coaches, and there's some great coaches there with me as well. Paul St. Cyr, who is a tremendous coach. John Phelan, who is now a mental skills coach with the Vancouver Canucks in the National Hockey League. Daryl Bokenfour, who had played for me. Wayne Perkins. These were all top quality people who, helped, put a program together that, was going to be competitive every night. And I think nobody let anybody else off the hook. And so I think that accountability had a big part in the kind of success we were able to have.
That record, though, that's a very difficult record to replicate, like in any level of sport. Like that, what made it so different that year? Was it that defeat and that?
Well, I think it was. I think it was having come so close, and then knowing that we had to be that much better if we were going to win it all. It was, it wasn't that much fun being close. We wanted everything, and we wanted the feeling of being national champions. And I think it wasn't a feeling that just came for 1 year. I think you mentioned that all of the 80s. We had that feeling at Nate where, we knew we were going to be competitive every year. And once you get that feeling, I think, a program that we looked at and said, if we want to have a great hockey program, there's some programs around here that we can look at. And we just had to look across the river at U of A and how Claire Drake ran things there and realized that, if we were going to be successful, we had to be successful every year. That we had to create a feeling that this is the way it was going to be day in and day out when you played at Nate, and you came there with the expectation that you were going to be successful. And so I think that was sort of the pinnacle of what all of that stuff meant. I think that group of players bought into it. I think it was a talented group. That's always part of it. We had tremendous goaltending, and that's, if you're going to go undefeated, if your goaltending is going to be great. And I think we had tremendous leadership, and I think Ron Amiot being on the Wall of Fame, Cleo Ruin, who was the goaltender, being on the Wall of Fame, I think that's indicative of what that team had. It just had all the right pieces.
Well, in 84-85, that particular year, Um, what was the atmosphere like because I wasn't there at that time, in the Nate arenas? Did you have a packed house at that point? Like, was there a lot of community support at Nate?
Well, I think we did have, as the season went on, of course, we did draw attention to ourselves, and we had good crowds. But we were just in the process, I think, of becoming, the team that you probably experienced when you were at Nate, and that is, very well recognized in the community for the success that we'd had. And I think, what we did in '84, '85 really set the tone for that, because it was hard for anybody in the media to ignore an undefeated season, and then to cap it off by winning the national championship. And that was also sort of the beginning of the great rivalry with U of A as well in the face-off game. So all of those things sort of worked together to really make our program way more attractive to the fans. And I think as the season went on, our crowds were very good. In the playoffs, they certainly were great.
One thing Alan Furchek had said to me was that your record is so good because of that caliber. Like, that's what makes that record that year even more impressive, was because of the caliber of play and that hard hitting. And he's had some stats, he said, for me, 70 hits a game, and maybe in the NHL you might get 20, 21, something like that.
Well, we had guys on that team, one guy in particular, Murray Melnick, we used to keep hits, and Murray Melnick used to average about 18 hits a game himself. So we kind of had a little bit of a formula that we kind of ran on, that if we had 70 hits a game and less than 20 turnovers, we were going to win. And there weren't too many nights we didn't hit the targets at both ends of that. So. And I think Al's right. I think, we had a great team, but Red Deer had a great team. SAIT had a really good team. Camrose had a good team. Mount Royal's program was really starting to get good at that time too. Like, it was a good league, and you would never be as good as our team was without that caliber of competition. And I think that's... when the league is as competitive as it was, it just makes everybody work that much harder to be good. And certainly a guy like Al Furchuk set a tone in terms of how Red Deer was coached. Camrose had always had great coaches. So there was a standard to be reached. And yet, I certainly know that when I got to Nate, I looked around and said, boy, we got some work to do here. And let's reach and see how far we can get. And I was fortunate to be part of recruiting some real good athletes who, for one reason or another, bought into what we were selling at Nate. And certainly that, let's not lose perspective of the fact that Nate is a terrific place to go to school as well. So that also benefited us as a team. And I think the other thing was that program heads at Nate realized that there was going to be a quality in our program in terms of what we demanded from the players academically. And so they were cooperative too. When they could give us a hand getting a player into school, they did. And I don't think they stretched any rules. I just think that there's certain periods in the year where there's an opportunity to jump people ahead on the list, and we just tried to make sure that we showed them that the caliber of person we were recruiting wasn't just a good athlete, but a good student as well. And I think, that's the other thing I'm as proud of as anything. We had an undefeated team, but we have players off that team that are, tremendously successful as individuals, and are leaders in the community in terms of minor hockey. And some of them, maybe not so much in minor hockey now, they're in other sports because their sons or daughters just happen to not play hockey. So I think I'm as proud of that as anything.
Where do you rank this? Because, we've got the World Juniors happening today and stuff, and obviously that is an amazing accomplishment. But where does your time with the Ooks, and maybe even that year, that special record, rank?
Well, it's pretty special. You're judged as a coach on your body of work, and when you get to the National Hockey League, there's some things that you don't control nearly as well as you can at the college level. But I'm as proud of that as anything that I've done as a coach. And probably the greatest feedback I've had as a coach that has had the most impact on me as an individual is the feedback from individual players who played at Nate and told me that I had a positive effect on their lives. So, I mean, that's, I think, as special as you can get. You know, you get that sometimes from your kids, but to get it outside your own family is pretty neat. So that's, you know, I'll never ever forget how special that was, and it will rank with almost anything that I've done as a coach. I'd like to try and win a Stanley Cup, see how that feels, see how it ranks up there, and I'm pretty sure I won't be part of a team in the NHL that'll go undefeated. So, you know, it'll be special.